Morning. All right, so today it's all about the exact process of bringing yourself back into wholeness, being free, being at peace, and being able to receive more with more ease in your life and in your business. So, I'm going to start in this live by briefly exploring the six most common childhood wounds that essentially haunt us and block our ability to receive more with more ease and to create the results we want in our lives. Then we're going to move into me teaching you the exact process, the exact practice I use and I teach my clients to essentially bring our nervous system out of contraction, out of woundedness, out of fear, back into expansion, into wholeness, into freedom, into peace, so that we can show up and move and essentially be in our lives and in our business and make decisions from that place. Um, okay. Okay. So I started this series with really doing a training on reclaiming what I called our magical child, reclaiming something within us that was innately and is innately already whole, already free, already bold, already fully confident and limitless. Um, and this part of us, this magical child, is essentially able and expects to receive big in life and in business. What happens, as I explained in that initial training, which by the way, the link is in the description of this live. So if you missed it and you want to go back, you can find it. But what I explain is essentially like life, the conditioning, the disappointments, life wounded us and life essentially conditioned us to become armored, to close, to keep quiet, to stay small, and to expect little from life out of fear of being hurt, out of fear of being disappointed, out of fear of feeling rejected. And that fear, that contraction that happened, where we essentially lost a piece of ourselves that we now need to create and receive the life we want, the business we want. Um, what I'm talking about today is almost like coming back full circle. How do we really reclaim that? How do we heal the wounds that tell us that we should stay small, that we're safer if we are small? And how do we bring all parts of us back into this place of wholeness, back into this place of confidence so that we can live free and sovereign in our lives and have real true agency, and we can grow our business in a way that feels really aligned and create and receive the results we want from this place of ease, from this place of openness, and from this place of peace. So that's what we're doing today. Um, I think it's going to be life changing, and I hope you get a lot out of it. So before I get into the meat of it, I want to introduce myself in case you don't know me. Um, I'm Ilsa. I'm a licensed therapist, an expansion expert, and a strategist. For almost 20 years, I've been essentially teaching my clients how to rewire their nervous system, their lives, and their business for more. I'm also an absolute and total spiritual nerd. And so there's a lot of that consciousness work and expansion work that has trickled and is a huge part of my work. So if you want more expansive growth and easeful receiving in your life, in love, in work, in wealth, then the way to get started working with me is I always offer a 90-minute one-on-one intensive with me. I call it the Wired for Wealth intensive, and it's offered at 55% off for people who are new to me. And you can find that by clicking the first link in the description. This is specifically designed for purpose-driven professionals, soulful entrepreneurs, and leaders who essentially want to repair, recode, and expand their nervous system so they can feel safe, easeful, and playful in their lives and in their business, creating, receiving, and having more of what they want. All right, so let's get started. So as I mentioned, today we're going to start with me sharing with you some of the main childhood wounds that keep us stuck and keep us in a mindset and a sense state of limitation. And then after that, I'm going to take you through the first half of my hatching process, which is what I teach my clients to essentially let go of the past, let go of any wounds, recalibrate ourselves, deconstruct the conditioning so that we can come back into a place of freedom, a place of openness, a place of liberation, and move in our lives and our business from that and be able to receive from that place as well. So a huge amount of the work that I do with clients prior to even working on strategy, especially if I'm working with somebody who has a business. So before I even work on strategy or on creating expansive growth in their lives, I literally help my clients rewire their nervous system and their identity to essentially be in this place of freedom, be in this place of sovereignty, and essentially in releasing the past and releasing everything that's no longer really all that helpful so that they can feel safe, welcoming, and receiving what's possible. We can't welcome what's possible if we are essentially still conditioned with the past. You can't receive when your nervous system is in contraction. So it's very difficult for us to perceive that what we're seeing, what we're experiencing of the world is actually a construct. It's a construct that got created from our childhood, from a lens we put on from our childhood. And this construct, unfortunately, is felt and it is experienced and it is expected. And because it is felt in here and it is expected, it starts to create our reality. So a lot of the time, the limitations you see in your love life, in your business, in your wealth, in your ability to attract clients, in your ability to get paid what you want to be paid, all of that are literally ripples. They're the reality that got created from these contracts, from these knots of limitation that we took on from childhood. So a lot of the work that we are doing is we're rewiring our bodies, we're rewiring, and it's not enough to just rewire your mind. Like the true conditioning, the true wounding is held in the body, it's held in the nervous system. The mind, essentially, the belief systems are what percolates, what is up top of these knots and these conditioning in our nervous system and in our bodies. So if you only try to fix mindset, essentially, without really looking at how deeply these beliefs are held and where the roots, the knot, is in the body, it will change for a short period of time and then you'll come right back to that same thing. So it's really important to go deep into the body. So here are the 6 main childhood wounds that are going to show up in your business over and over until you address them and you deconstruct them and you recode your nervous system to be free of them, essentially. The first wound is a sense of being powerless, a sense that things are done to me and I have no power to change them. For a lot of very young children especially, that is a very true statement. As kids, the essential nature of being a young child or a baby is of being powerless. That sense of powerlessness starts to condition and construct the nervous system where we end up feeling like we have no power, no agency, no control in our lives as adults, and we start to ripple and recreate that. So that shows up in our lives Like when you feel like you're not in charge, you don't have agency, you don't have control over your life, over your success, over your happiness. Um, some emotions that show up here is blame and feeling like a victim. Like if you're feeling that, you want to know that this isn't a truth. This is a knot in your nervous system from a childhood wound, and it is a construct that needs to be dissolved and unwrapped so that you can come back into this place of expansion. So some common things I see here in business from there is no one is buying right now. COVID ruined my business. No one's got money right now. Like anything that's going to give the power to change your life out there or to someone else is an extension of that. The second wound that's really common and is going to really haunt your business is a wound around rejection and abandonment. The main emotions for that wound are feeling lonely, feeling like you don't belong, feeling unsupported, feelings of grief and shame. And a lot of self-doubt in business comes from there. Um, what if no one wants what I have? What if no one buys? What if I'm disturbing people when I reach out to them? No one will pay me that much. People don't want what I have. Like all of that stems from a fear and a wound of feeling rejected. And that fear will really keep us from putting ourselves out there from this place of true confidence being really deeply anchored and rooted in our own expansion, essentially. So that's number two. The third wound that shows up a lot in business and will haunt us is a wound around not feeling lovable. The main emotions here are shame, feeling unappreciated, feeling inadequate in some ways, feeling like there's something wrong with me. Some of the talk or the thinking around that can show up in business is people don't want me. They don't want what I have. Who am I to teach this? Who am I to share this? I don't have what it takes. I'm not ready. There's something wrong with me. Um, just a sense of feeling inadequate and feeling like we have no business wanting to be paid well and wanting people to work with us. The fourth childhood wounds that will haunt your business is something that says it's not safe to be me. The main emotion here is a fear of being judged, being criticized, being found out. It leads to us hiding who we really are, playing small, downplaying our gifts in many ways, downplaying what we've accomplished, or even downplaying and sabotaging the results we can get. So some of the ways this shows up in business is what if I fail? What if I get found out? What if I'm judged? What if I'm criticized? What if people turn on me? Imposter syndrome will come up there. Undercharging will absolutely show up from there. And also just wearing a mask, like feeling like you've got to show up with a sort of alter ego rather than being yourself. Because what happens with this wound is the only, like a fundamental belief that I can't succeed as me. I can't succeed doing it my way. So another thing that'll show up a lot with this wound is you're constantly searching for somebody else's way that you can copy. So you're literally comparing yourself to other people, but you're also not trusting your own guidance, and you're essentially trying to grow a business in a way that doesn't actually feel aligned with you. So that's the fourth wound. The fifth wound is the I don't matter, I'm not important, I'm unworthy wound. And some of these, like you'll see, they kind of mesh together. Some of the main emotions here is apathy, feeling unseen and invisible, feeling unappreciated, feeling like you're not enough and you always have to prove or improve yourself. And again, a sense of shame, a sense here too that there might be something lacking or not enough or wrong with me. Um, what I see here with people is a lot of also downplaying like our ability, like I'm nothing special, my work is nothing special. There's others doing what I'm doing who have more experience and are better than me. They're more together, they're more successful than me. A lot of overgiving and undercharging in this wound as well. A feeling that there's no reason to be proud of me. Like I haven't done much. The 6 wounds that show up in childhood that will ripple into your adult life and into your business is what I call the against me wound. A sense that life is unfair or is hard. It's almost like a pessimistic, maybe black and white view of life. Oftentimes there's been some trauma in there. There's been a very harsh parent in there. There can be feeling of apathy, resentment, feeling unsupported by life. There's often a lot of undigested and unprocessed grief in someone who has that. And some of the thoughts is nothing comes easy to me. If I want to succeed, I'm going to have to sacrifice a lot. Um, Almost like I can do everything right and nothing works for me anyways. There's a little bit of a victimhood mindset where we almost feel like life is against us here and everything's going to be hard for us. That is something that's very old and it's very wired in our nervous system. And it's one of the main things I work with clients, because if you have that, then literally you will sabotage all your results. You will never allow yourself to have things be simple, to have things be easy, to have things be and feel enjoyable. You will literally create, because you expect things to be hard, you will create them in a hard way, and you will not allow yourself to receive anything that doesn't feel hard, hard to hold, hard to maintain, hard to duplicate. So that's the 6 main childhood wounds that keep popping up and haunting us as adults in our relationships and in our business. When we are triggered, when we are worried, when we are disappointed or stuck in some kind of old pattern of lack, of abandonment, of rejection, of not enoughness, what happens is our ability to be regulated, to be relaxed, to be open, to be receptive is compromised. And when you're compromised in that way, you can't show up powerfully. You can't make powerful decisions for yourself. You can't create powerfully. And you can't receive abundantly and with ease. So just like an orange tree is only coded to create oranges, you'll never get apples from an orange tree. When your nervous system is contracted and conditioned, you are literally coded for more conditioning and more contraction, not expansion. You are coded for what you believe is possible and for the experience you expect to receive. So when our nervous system is contracted, we're armored. When we are armored, we resist change, we resist growth, we resist anything that's going to feel easeful and is going to feel really deeply nourishing. We essentially resist receiving. Armoring is a resistance to receiving. So that's the first thing that we're having to change here. We're having to really, like, you can work on all the doing things. You can shift all the strategies. You can learn all the strategies. And you could have a super successful strategy. But if you're essentially executing a strategy, but your being, your nervous system is shut down and is armored and is unavailable for receiving with ease, you will literally make everything hard, or you will actually block yourself from receiving the results you want. And then you'll think it's a strategy, but it's not the strategy. It is the driver behind the strategy, which happens to be you. So the way what your nervous system is coded for, what your nervous system is conditioned for in each moment at any given time, is literally what you have the capacity and the ability to create, receive, and hold at any given time. Nothing more. So if you want more, you have to become more. You have to expand your nervous system for more so that you can easily create it, receive it, and hold it. So this is why learning to shift from contraction into expansion, learning to rewire and recalibrate our nervous system for regulated expansion, for expansion that feels good and that is nourishing to our system, and knowing how to take all these wounded parts and bring them back into a sense of wholeness, a sense of peace, and a sense of freedom is absolutely necessary and a non-negotiable part of easeful growth and being able to create and receive the results you want in your life, in your relationships, and in your business. If any of this resonates and you are ready to create like a wholeness, wealth, and receiving revolution from within, then I want to encourage you to book one of my Wired for Wealth intensive with me at 55% off. And you can do that by clicking the link in the description. So the moment that you sense that there's a contraction inside you, things feel hard, things feel heavy, you're anxious, you feel overwhelmed, you can't seem to stop. Like we all know when we're like this and we feel expanded, or when we are like this and we feel tight and we feel heavy and we feel held back. Like that is actually an inner sense. It is a felt sense. It's not just a thought. It's something we know and we feel in our bodies. So the moment you feel that there's a contraction inside you, that you are hanging on to some old story, some old hurt, some old belief that you know is no longer serving you, essentially, that's when we must do the work to shift our nervous system and ourselves out of that contraction, out of that deregulation, out of what was, so that we can essentially be available for what we actually want. To receive more with more ease, you have to be able to let go of what was, let go of the wounds of the past, so that you can operate from and be open to what is possible. You can operate from possibility, and you can be open from what is possible. Essentially, the moment we're stuck in the past, we're not in possibility. Because the moment we're stuck in the past and we are recreating a conditioning or a belief system that was anchored, seated in us from the past, then the only thing we are recreating is the past. So you're either moving, operating, and creating what is possible, or you're moving, operating, and creating the past. And you have to define who you want to be and what you want. And you have to be able to discern, is this the past or is this what's possible? So now I'm going to give you what I consider to be the most powerful 3 steps to bring your nervous system out of contraction and bring your identity out of contraction and bring you back into regulation, into relaxation, and into receptivity. Because you cannot create and receive without being open, without being receptive. This is part of my proprietary process that I call hatching, because I think I called it hatching because it's coming out of your shell. And I've designed this process over essentially basically 20 years of, actually more than that if I consider personal development, but years of personal development and years of working with thousands of individuals over these last 22 years. It's what I do personally. I do this work every day. And it is what I take my clients through and what I teach them to do with themselves when they feel stuck, or when they sense that they are in contraction, or when they're overwhelmed. It is absolutely a life-changing process despite its simplicity. So step one, and we did a lot of step one last week in the power of permission. But step one is always to give yourself permission to whatever you are feeling and thinking and believing or doing in that moment. You want to validate your own experience, and you want to essentially release the resistance that you are having to this moment or to yourself. You can't shift into what could be if you are at war with what is. So permission, step one, is always about releasing resistance, because resistance is the antithesis to receiving. Essentially, it's the opposite of receiving. There's something here too around permission and that first wound of powerlessness. The moment that you give permission, you shift out of powerlessness, you shift out of victimhood, you shift out of that the world is against me sense. And the young part of you who is feeling contracted, is feeling disappointed, is feeling overwhelmed, or rejected, or ashamed, or unappreciated, or unsupported, will not be able to relax and settle until he or she feels met, feels acknowledged, feels welcomed, and feels safe to be who or she is. So the power of permission is also about that wound that says it's not safe to be me. The power of permission is really hitting a lot of these original wounds or core wounds that I talked about at the beginning of this training. It literally tells you that you have the power. You're no longer powerless. It tells you that it's safe to be you. It tells you that you are being supported and seen in that moment. There's a lot of power around permission. So the first step is always to essentially say to this part of you who is wounded, who is contracted, hey, it's okay. It's okay to feel overwhelmed right now. It's okay to feel afraid. It's okay to feel worried. It's okay that you are who you are right now. And just that oftentimes will bring the nervous system back to some degree into regulation. Step two is something I called providing the missing experience. Those wounds that I mentioned earlier all arose out of us as children not receiving what we needed from our caretakers and from life. That missing experience is essentially what got us to go from here, from expansion, from confidence, from feeling safe to be here, safe to be ourselves, safe to be alive, to contraction, to it's not safe, I'm not enough, people don't want me. Something happened, sometimes many things happen, that taught us that being this open, this expanded, this available and receptive was unsafe. And so we became armored. We started to expect less so that we wouldn't be disappointed. We started to trust less. We started to think something was wrong with us, that we were not enough. All of that is the wounding, the conditioning of wounding inside us that haunts us throughout our adult lives and haunts our relationships and haunts how we show up and market our business, what we charge, like all of that. So to bring your nervous system out of contraction, out of wounding, back into that wholeness, back into that expansion that was innately who you were. It was your innate nature, essentially. To do that, we have to start providing all these parts of us who got wounded the experience they were looking for, the missing experience. Usually, in all my years of experience, and this is the power of doing this work one-on-one. When I work one-on-one is I provide these three things, but then we also check in and see what else is missing here that this part needs to be able to come back into openness, to be able to come back into feeling safe, feeling relaxed, feeling receptive, feeling expanded. But the three main missing experiences that I find over and over and over and come back. First is unconditional love. Essentially, when you are addressing the missing experience of unconditional love, what you're telling your wounded child or the part of you who is contracted here is that I love you exactly the way you are. I love you no matter what. This is a missing experience that we all needed to hear. It doesn't matter what we do, doesn't matter how we show up, it doesn't matter that we broke a glass or that, we made a mistake. We are unconditionally loved exactly the way we are, no matter what. That is a core missing experience that brings our entire system back into wholeness, back into expansion, back into feeling really safe to be here and to be ourselves. The second missing experience that comes back over and over and over is a sense of being unconditionally supported. When you provide the missing experience of unconditional support, what you're telling your wounded child or the part of you who is hurt and contracted here is that I've got you. I am here for you. I am here to support you and I have your back no matter what. We will figure this out together. You're never going to be alone. This unconditional support heals all these part of us that feel like we don't belong, like we're not enough, like we're unworthy, like the world doesn't want us, like there's never enough support for us. It is a primary experience that most of us are missing that doesn't allow us to actually receive. The third missing experience that comes back over and over and over that we have to essentially provide to ourselves is what I call unconditional acknowledgement and appreciation. When you are providing that to the part of you who is wounded and who is contracted, to that child within, what you are saying to them is, I don't care what you do or don't do. I am proud of you no matter what. You are reminding this part of you that no matter what, they are important, they matter, and you are proud of them. Like all of us as children wants our caretaker to be proud of us. That's what it's like, look at me, look at me, look at this drawing, look at what I did. Like this is something within us that naturally wants to have that sense of acknowledgement, that sense of appreciation, that sense of pride in our own being. And when you can provide that missing experience for yourself, that no matter what you do or don't do, you are proud of you, then all that pressure to improve yourself, to prove yourself, dissipates. All that sense that you're not enough, you're not worthy, you're not good enough, that there's a lack within you, dissolves. So these are the three main missing experiences. Missing experience is step 2, providing ourselves the missing experience. And then as a unique being, you will have your own missing experience. You will have your own things that your wounded child needed to hear, needed to experience, needed to have, that you weren't able to have. And then part of the work is learning to provide that for yourself, so you stop looking for it out there and you become your biggest ally. You become essentially the center, the ground, the core of your sense of expansion. To be able to let go of the past, we must provide the part of us that has felt hurt, that has felt unsafe, that has felt unworthy or not enough, what it is missing. It's only when that part can feel safe, can feel whole, that it will be willing to open, to relax, to become receptive. And here's the trick or the secret here. All these part of us that got contracted and got wounded, They literally, like, as they knotted up, they shut down their own magic. Each part of you who is now in contraction holds within it a piece of your power, a piece of your magic, a piece of your wisdom that you don't actually have access to right now. When you do this work and you provide permission, then you give and provide the missing experience, and you start to bring your whole system back into this sense of safety, back into the sense of abundance and enoughness, and feeling supported, feeling seen, feeling acknowledged, feeling loved. All these wounds, all these knots, they literally start to open, and the little jewel that was inside it, the little piece of your own magic, of your own power that you haven't gone to have access to, is released, and you start to be able to use that in your business, in your relationships. That is part of the power that makes everything you do work. When all these little pieces of your magic are released back to you, and you feel anchored, you feel powerful, you feel clear as to who you are and what you're here to do, and the most aligned way for you to market yourself, for you to show up, for you to provide the services you provide. When that happens, that is when literally it's like this cloak of invisibility gets removed. Everything within you that said the only way to succeed is to make it hard gets removed. And ease starts happening. Magnetism starts happening. People are happy to pay you the fees that they were before, like, balking at, and you feel clear and you feel confident charging those fees. So this is the work that makes everything you do work. So part one is permission. Part two is providing the missing experience and becoming your own inner ally, your own North Star. And part three, the final step of what I'm going to share with you today is what I call rewiring your nervous system for unconditional trust. When I talked about these 6 main wounds, what happens is as we get wounded, as we get clobbered over, shut down, rejected by life in small or sometimes big ways as we're growing up, we lose something fundamental that we were born with. And I call that unconditional trust. When a baby is born, a baby only knows that its needs are taken care of because they were. For most of us, unless your mother had a horrendous pregnancy, for most of us, we were in a place before we were born, prenatal, where we were completely taken care of. We were warm, we were fed, all was well. We were safe. The moment we are born, babies have a sense that there's no reason, even though this feels a little colder, this feels a little too bright, there's no reason that that's not going to continue. A baby has absolute expectation that when it cries, its needs will be met. It will be picked up, it will be changed, it will be fed. It has a sense of unconditional trust. As we go from babies to toddlers to children, that sense of trust becomes eroded. That's the sense, the wounds of the world is against me, it's got to be hard, like all of those wounds that I talked about earlier, rejection wounds, all of that are actually an erosion of trust in life. And you can't trust yourself if you don't trust life. So part 3 is just a simple process of starting to rewire our nervous system for unconditional trust. We start to anchor ourselves in the knowing and the embodiment that everything is actually working. All is well, even if I can't quite see it or experience it well. What you are telling your wounded child, or the part of you that has been hurt and is now contracted when you're working on unconditional trust, is that even though it might not seem like it right now, all is well and it's always working for you. We are reminding that part of us that there's no need to freeze right now. There's no need to run. There's no need to fight. There's no need to resist. There's no need to come back into armoring, because all of this, even if it feels hard, it's actually part of the grand plan. It's part of what life has designed for us. And it is in the emergence, in the process of working itself out. This sense of unconditional trust and working with ourselves around trusting is essentially surrender. It is faith. It is the thing that will allow you to show up powerfully when you don't know what the results are going to be. It is what is going to allow you to not pay too close attention to short-term results and to just be in a sense of possibility. Remember before I said you can only move and operate and create from the past, or you can move and operate and create what is possible. Unconditional trust essentially starts rewiring ourselves to step out of the past and to step into possibility. You cannot create a really thriving, truly satisfying and sustainable business without being in this place of possibility and in being anchored in trust. So this shift of anchoring our identity in trust, along with the first two steps, is what allows us to get regulated. It's what allows us to enter into a state of relaxation, a state of freedom, a state of peace, a state of openness, out of which clarity, confidence, creativity, wisdom emerges, and out of which an ability to receive and hold more emerges. When you have that sense of knowing and clarity and wisdom and receptivity, you're able to essentially know exactly what you're supposed to do next. And you're able to move and execute and make decisions in a way that is aligned and in resonance with the fruits you desire to create and receive. Without that, you either do the wrong things, you do the right things, but from the wrong energy, the wrong sense of being, and you sabotage it, or you do the right things, you might even be in the right energy, but you're armored and you're closed, so you don't allow yourself to welcome what's coming your way, and you block your results. These three steps that I just went over with you are essentially the first half of my hatching process, and they're all about the process of really coming back into openness and into feeling really safe being you, really safe being here, and feeling truly regulated in your nervous system so that you can receive yourself and receive what you desire. When you know this process, it can be done in a minute. It sounds long right now because I'm walking you through it, but when you actually know it, you can do it in a minute, maybe even less than that. And you can do it anytime you feel yourself blocked, every time you feel yourself in resistance, every time you feel yourself heavy, you can do it and literally bring yourself back into openness. Once we are regulated, relaxed, receptive, anchored in trust, then we do the next half of the work. And the next half of the work is essentially to recalibrate and expand the nervous system for more. We start to rewire ourselves so that we can be able to grow expansively and safely and sustainably and receive and hold more and more and more of everything we want without getting overwhelmed, without sabotaging it, without essentially collapsing, without our energy collapsing. So first we regulate the nervous system and come back into safety, relaxation, receptivity. That is essentially the permission, the providing the missing experience, and trust, like reawakening trust. Then we need to expand and rewire the nervous system for more. You need to start being able to calibrate and recalibrate your nervous system for something that is actually beyond your own experience. Remember, we're always creating either from the past or we're creating from possibility. For our nervous system, for our brain, oftentimes it's very hard to go beyond what it knows and what has been normalized. So now we start in this work, we start to expand the nervous system and start to normalize more. And then finally, the last thing you do here is you teach your nervous system, you teach your body, you teach your mind to not freak out when you actually start to receive bigger results than you've been used to. I see that shit happen with, actually, it happens in relationships too. Like, people say they want something and suddenly they receive it, and there's something inside them that says, oh shit, can I handle that? Am I good enough for that? What if this happened? What if that happens? And something collapses. So you see that with entrepreneurs who suddenly have a breakthrough months or a breakthrough launch, where suddenly they bring in a lot more clients than they're used to, or a lot more money than they're used to. And two things will happen when your nervous system isn't wired for more and you're not wired to stay relaxed, to stay regulated in more. You will either create and make that experience painful. That means you're going to attract the wrong people. That means people are not going to get results and want their money back, or they're going to be messaging you all the time. Or what happens after that, and you will experience what I call a cycle of being in the desert. What that means is, because your nervous system got flooded and got totally like dysregulated and triggered and collapsed back into contraction, then nothing can flow in. So you'll have a big breakthrough months and then nothing. No sales, no new opportunities, no new clients. And so that creates, Emmett, quiet. That creates that sense of feast and famine, or flow and force and push. So that's why we do this work, because you can't create a simple, sustainable, really enjoyable and nourishing business without it. Everything will feel out of alignment, or everything will feel harder than it needs to be. So what I shared today from me is the most powerful process to bring yourself out of contraction, out of scarcity, out of limitation, out of the past, and back into possibility, back into wholeness, into freedom, into expansion. So that your body, your nervous system, your mind, and all the little parts of you can feel safe and worthy, creating the results and receiving the results you want. If you are ready to expand out of contraction and you want to actually do some repair and recalibration work of your nervous system and of your identity, so that you can achieve, grow, receive more with a lot more ease and a lot more enjoyment, and feel deeply nourished by your work and your life, then I would love to work with you. I want to help you anchor and live from this place of expansion and be able to succeed massively in your life, in love, in work, in wealth, in a way that truly delights you, truly honors all of you, and nourishes you, including your bank account. Not just your bank account, but including your bank account. And to help people get started with that, I always offer a 90-minute one-on-one Wired for Wealth intensive at 55% off. And you can book that by clicking the first link in the description of this video. In this intensive, we're going to explore and figure out exactly what are the nervous system wounds and blocks that are holding you back. And then I'm going to teach you my proprietary hatching process. I'm going to show you exactly what to do to bring yourself out of that contraction, out of that woundedness, back into expansion and wholeness, and to start essentially downloading what needs to happen next from this place of openness, from this place of expansion. And then if we want to continue to work together, I will give you a couple different options to fit your needs and fit your budgets, so that we can keep doing this work and we can keep rewiring you and recalibrating you and your business for truly easeful and enjoyable success. So, in the end, I want you to remember you have everything you need to succeed. You are the most powerful force in your life. That being said, it's always easier to get there with the help of somebody who is walking the path. Because not only have I walked a path, I'm walking it right now. I am by not in any way, shape, or form at the highest level I can be. I'm always in the process of meeting woundedness or contraction that show up and bringing them back into wholeness and expansion. This is a lifelong work. So I can be and do this work with you and show you how to do this work for yourself. And I'm not so far ahead of the curve that I have no idea what you're experiencing. I experience what you are experiencing on a regular basis. It's just that I might just be in a slightly more expanded place. But it's my coach, Amika Tinkerson, likes to say, when you get to a new level, you're still going to meet the same devil. So it's new level, same devil. It's just like we're meeting ourselves and we're meeting these wounds and these contractions at deeper and deeper levels, and we're coming back into deeper and deeper levels of expansion and freedom. Your outer life is always a reflection, a ripple of who you are being, of where your nervous system is at, how expanded your body is. So this is about marrying the strategic part of creating and receiving in life and in business the results we want, mixed in with the somatic work, the body work that allows us to actually execute, express, and receive at that level. All right, that's what I have for you. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week and a wonderful weekend. Sending you lots of love. Mwah.